I'm Matt with eTrailer. If you have a 2024 Ram 1500 and you need access to the back of your tailgate, but a lot of other carriers are going to really impede that access, one that's going to do a great job of allowing you to open up your tailgate though is going to be the RockyMounts AfterParty Bike Rack. So let's check it out. What's going to give it that ability to open up your tailgate fully is going to be that swing away ability that this carrier has. So we'll take a closer look at that later on. Right now, we'll just focus on how it fits in some of the specs. So right now, you'll notice we do have a decent amount of space in between our vehicle and bike. Even if this is bouncing around on some really bumpy roads, that's not likely of making contact. Now, it is going to stick out quite a bit, and the wheels, depending on the size of your bike, might block your taillights a bit, but you should be able to see it somewhat as well. Now this is going to have a weight capacity of up to 60 pounds per bike, and we're going to be able to carry 2 of them. And we'll see how that's going to affect its tilt away. And really to engage that tilt away, we're going to have this blue lever at the bottom. I'm just going to pull on that, maintain control of my carrier, and let it down slowly. And it's looking like a pretty good tilt, but let's see if we actually make clearance or not. Let that down. It is just making contact just barely, so you'll still be able to throw a lot of smaller things in here, but as you can see right here, we are making contact. So that's going to be one of the great reasons for why we need to use that swing away arm at times. We can take a closer look at that swing away arm and how that's going to work. So the way you're going to do that is just come underneath it. You're going to find that you have this blue lever. You're just going to push that up, and this thing can get pretty tight. So if you're having issues maneuvering it, you can actually pull out on it, switch it to a different position. That's a little bit easier for you to maneuver, and then go from there. Once this is loosened enough, we're going to have a pin on the other side. That's going to connect to your arm. I'm just going to pull that. That's going to let me remove this. Now, I pulled that, but we still have a little bit more threads to go on this lever here. So I'll go a little bit further until it detaches completely. There we have it. And while this feature is really nice, if you find yourself in a tight situation that we're in right now, you're probably going to make contact with some of the walls. As you can see right here, I'm about to hit that door right there. So you could try to maneuver it some because it is pretty adaptable, but you're probably still going to run into that situation. But even just holding it like that, I still get full tailgate access. Now the downside to that being in this position is it's going to have a locking pin on that arm, and with it not being pushed all the way to that 90-degree position, we're going to lose out on that. But if you only throw in a couple things back here in those tight situations, you should be fine. But for the majority of the time, if you're at a campsite, you shouldn't have this issue at all. You're going to have plenty of clearance to open this up to the full 90 degrees. Once you're done, you can just bring it back in, line it back up until that pin seats back in where it needs to be, and then you can tighten this lever back up. Now if we want a closer look at this rack, I'm going to have to remove my bike. So to do that, it's pretty straightforward. All I have to do is come over here to this button. I'm going to press on it first. That's going to release that ratcheting mechanism. And I'm going to push out on that, and then I can push these arms out of my way. Now sometimes they can get kind of stuck on your tread. That's just depending on how aggressive your tread is. And it pushes out pretty far too. I'm going to repeat that process on the other side. I like to maintain control of my bike rack, or my bike, so it doesn't fall over. And this is design of how it holds our bike down is great if you have any alternative or carbon frame bikes. So really, you're not going to be limited to just those types of bikes. Since we are able to carry those 60-pound bikes as well, you can even carry those heavy e-bikes. But with our bike off, we can take it out for a ride. I want to just make sure we put everything back up. It's pretty straightforward. All you have to do is pull on that arm till it sits flat. I just recommend just coming back over here and flipping that blue button back down, just so it doesn't pop up too much on you when you're driving. Really, you can push that down first, and it will just engage that ratcheting device as you push on it. We'll also have this lock cord at the very end of it, just for that extra security, so you can use your included bike chain to secure your bikes in place so no one can take them. Now we're getting a few measurements just to see how it's going to sit back here. So the first one I'm going to get is from our back bumper to the furthest point on the carrier, which is going to be around 31 inches, which is going to stick out a little bit, but since we can save some space if there's no bikes on here, that's pretty nice. I'll show you that in a little bit though. First, I want to show you what our ground clearance is, and that's going to be just about 29 inches, which is pretty dang high, which is good because we're not going to make any ground contact back here. Something to consider though is when you do have those really heavy e-bikes on here, that's going to be a little bit of a lift. So I'd recommend maybe grabbing a friend with you if you struggle getting those e-bikes on. But like I said, we can save some space, and right here we're going to have this lever, the same one we used to tilt it over earlier. This time I'm going to push up till it clicks into place. And now, if I go from our back bumper to the back of the carrier, that's only going to stick at just about 14 inches from that handle. So that's going to save you a ton of space. Now this carrier will block a few things on the back of your 1500, and the main thing it's going to block, or your notice is going to block, is going to be a license plate. And that's just going to be the case with a lot of these hitch-mounted bike racks, just because that license plate sits so low. But your taillights won't be obstructed, and neither will your back window. Now you probably are going to pick up a majority of this in your backup camera, but I still think you'll be able to use it somewhat. It's just going to depend on what situation you are in. If you're not sure about using it, I'd recommend just sticking to your mirrors. And the way this carrier is going to install into our vehicle today is we're going to have a 2-inch shank that goes into your 2-inch hitch receiver. We're then going to have an anti-rattle bolt that goes through and connects to a lock core right here. That anti-rattle bolt's giving us a great fit today so it doesn't rattle around in your hitch. And this lock core is just giving us extra security, and it's going to use the same key system as your included chain lock. In my opinion, I think this is a great carrier, especially if you are doing a lot of camping, you need to access the back of your bed for a lot of your gear, and you want to keep your bikes on this carrier as you swing it around. Because if you are trying to access the back of your bed and in those really tight parking spots, that swing away option might not be an option. As you saw earlier, we don't have a lot of space if you're in those tight spots. Now another great option for something like that would be the Quad Piston SR bike rack. And what I like about that is it sits really compact to our vehicle. We're going to have plenty of room to open up your tailgate. The only issue is it's only going to be able to carry one bike, but it's going to have a really hefty weight capacity of up to 100 pounds, so it's perfect for those really heavy e-bikes. So that's going to be really more for those more urban environments where things are really tight. You don't have a lot of space, and maybe you need to do some parallel parking. This is going to be more ideal for those campsite areas where you still can leave your bikes on here, you still need your tailgate access, and you can swing this out and take up a lot of space on the ground. But really it's just going to depend on what your situation is. That's just a look at the RockyMounts AfterParty bike rack on the back of our 2024 Ram 1500. I'm Matt, thanks for watching.